Very good morning, dear friends. In the yesterday's class, we have discussed regarding India's production and reserves of various sources, and also we have discussed annual production of energy. So, in continuation of that, so here the table in this class, that is annual production of energy, gives you the data of various sources used in our country in the year 2013, and what is the percentage contribution of each source is discussed. You see that coal in the year 2013 is consumed 566 metric ton, which has an energy equivalent in 10 to the power of 15 joules is equal to 14,924 joules, whereas the percentage contribution of the coal in the year 2013 for the entire energy need of our country is 53.1%. The crude oil is 222 metric ton production in the year 2013. Energy equivalent is 9242 into 10 to the power of 15 joules. Percentage contribution for our country's need is 32.9%. Natural gas is 35 into 10 to the power of 9 meter cube. It is in terms of volume, which is equal to 1382 into 10 to the power of 15 joules, which is nothing but 4.9%. Water power is 1,34,848 gigawatt hour. Energy equivalent is 1387 into 10 to the power of 15 joules, whereas percentage contribution is again same as that of natural gas. You can see that nuclear power is 35,334 gigawatt hour production was there in 2013, 424 into 10 to the power of 15 joules, and percentage contribution is 1.5. From all other sources, 59,651 gigawatt hour of production was there in 2013, and 715 into 10 to the power of 15 joules energy equivalent is produced, whereas the total percentage contribution is 2.5. So altogether, from all these sources, from coal, crude oil, natural gas, water power, nuclear power and other sources, we have 100% of contribution. In that, the first place stands for the coal, where 53% contribution from the coal, and second place goes for the crude oil, that is 32.9, and third place goes for the natural gas and water power both. So you can see that all these sources, these four sources are conventional sources, and whereas the first three sources are again conventional as well as uh, non-renewable sources. Once they are depleted, they cannot renew immediately on the earth. This is the table which represents India's reserves and production relative to the world data. So far we have discussed only our country's production and reserves and percentage contribution of each sources given for our energy demand for our country. Now we are discussing or comparing our country's reserves with the world reserves. In that, the coal is the first one. It is expressed in metric ton. So the proved reserves in the world is 8,91,530 metric tons. In India, it is 1,31,000, sorry, 13,125 metric ton. We have 14.76 percentage share of the world. So oil, it is expressed in billion barrels, 1653 billion barrels world proved reserves are there, 7.5 billion barrels our reserves are there, our country's reserves are there, and the percentage is 0.45 of the world. Natural gas is billion expressed in billion meter cube, 2,32,000 billion meter cube world proved reserves are there for natural gas. We have 1450 billion meter cube in our country. and percentage is 0.62% of the world. Nuclear power 3.62 world proved reserves in gigawatts, whereas we have 0.061 and percentage share is 1.68. Water power in megawatt is 3 into 10 to the power of 6. In India, 1,48,700 proved reserves are there, and the percentage of the world is 4.95. So, compared to the world data, in our country we have only the coal, which is having a lot of reserves, nearly 14% reserves are there, whereas the other natural sources like oil, natural gas, nuclear power and water power, we have very limited sources or proved reserves are there in our country, which fulfill our energy demands. So this graph indicates the consumption trend of primary energy resources. The average percentage consumption trend of various primary energy resources of the world is indicated in the figure, though the trend uh, differs from country to country. So you looking from this figure, you see that we depend much on the oil. Okay, so we consume 38% of the oil, and the second one is 28% coal, renewable 7%, 21% natural gas and 6% nuclear. The share of the fossil fuels is more than 90% in case of India. So fossil fuel means coal, oil as well as natural gas. Altogether, when you add these values, the share will be nearly equal to the 90%. What are the importance of non-commercial energy resources? So non-commercial energy resources are very important because nowadays the demand for the energy is increasing. So why it is increasing? Because rapid industrialization and population growth. And therefore to meet this energy demand, we don't have sufficient resources. Therefore commercial energy sources are required, and therefore the importance of the commercial energy resources for the development of a country, for the need for energy, for the population growth, it is required. Conventional sources such as fossil fuels, nuclear also cause pollution. Therefore, their their usage should be limited or restricted. Thereby, their use degrade the environment. Therefore, we need non-commercial energy sources to fulfill our demands, which are clean burning fuels. Conventional sources except hydro, as I told you in the previous sections, that hydro energy is not a non-renewable source, it is a conventional renewable source. Therefore, conventional source except hydro are non-renewable and finish one day. Okay. Therefore, it is required to use non-conventional energy sources. Now, most of the non-conventional energy sources are non-commercial energy sources except hydro energy. Large hydro resources affect wildlife, cause deforestation and pose various social problems due to construction of big dams. Whenever you want to use hydro resources, we have to construct a big dam which can withhold large quantities of water, and this causes the deforestation and it causes problems for the wildlife also. Fossil fuels are also used as a raw material in the chemical industries and need to be conserved for the future generations. So we don't use fossil fuel only for the purpose of generating the electricity. So some of the chemical industries also uses the fossil fuels. Due to this reason, it is important to conserve these sources, and also it is important to explore and develop non-conventional energy sources to reduce too much dependence on the conventional resources. However, Now the trend is like that non-conventional energy sources will serve only as a supplements, are serving only as a supplements rather than substitutes for conventional sources. Okay, so still we have the opportunity and the space to develop the technology so that one day these non-conventional energy sources becomes substitute rather than supplement of energy. Some of the salient features of non-conventional energy sources. You see that non-conventional energy sources are available in nature at a free of cost. These are environmental friendly because of the little pollution they make, and they are inexhaustible in nature. They have also low gestation period. So this is what the advantages of the non-conventional energy sources. Okay, they are freely available in the nature. We need not to pay any money for the usage of solar, wind and other sources like wave energy, tidal, biomass. These are environmental friendly, and by using these solar, wind and other tidal biomass, it will not cause any pollution to the environment. They are basically inexhaustible in nature, so never they never going to complete or deplete in the nature. So low gestation period, so with a little period they can reform, and freshly available new sources of non-conventional energy sources are ready for the use. Disadvantages of non-conventional energy sources are the cost of harnessing the energy from non-conventional energy sources is high. Harnessing means converting or using that energy to convert to usable form of energy is high. The cost is high because the technology is not developed up to a greater extent. Therefore, the devices used for harnessing these non-conventional energy sources are costlier. Therefore, cost of harnessing increases. These are available in a dilute forms in forms of energy. So all these energies are not concentrated forms of energy. They are still available in the nature in a dilute form. For example, solar, wind, tidal, biomass, all these energy sources are non-conventional sources. They are very dilute forms of energy, even though they are free of cost and they are available in the nature abundantly. They are very dilute forms. Uncertainty of availability. These energy sources depends on various natural phenomena beyond human control. So we cannot completely depend on these sources because they are not reliable. They are not uh, certain quantities of availability is not there always. They are always uncertain because if you consider solar, there are day night cycles and earth rotation in an elliptical orbit around the sun, so varies the amount of energy available on the earth. Wind always will not blow in the same speed in the same direction. Therefore these sources are not reliable sources, and also they are uncertain, and we cannot also control these sources. It is beyond human control. Difficulty in transporting this form of energy. So these non-conventional energy sources are dilute form. These are to be harnessed, or these are to be used to convert to usable form of energy at the place or at the site where they are available. We cannot transport it from one location to the another location. Some of the salient features of conventional energy sources. In that advantages, the first one is conventional source means coal is the main conventional source. Coal is cheaper at present compared to other sources. Coal is cheaper. Directly you can burn it. High energy content is there. Okay, much concentrated form of energy. Therefore, even compared to the energy concentration or calorific value of the coal, it is comparatively cheaper than other fuels. By storing certain quantity, the energy availability can be ensured for a certain period. So you can store this coal, you can store, and once you store it, you can ensure for a certain period of time this amount of energy is available. These are very convenient to use. So coal, oil, natural gas, directly you can burn and generate electricity. No need of any intermediate devices or costlier technology required to convert these sources to electricity. But they have various disadvantages also. The disadvantages are listed as follows. Fossil fuels generate pollutants like CO, CO2, NOx, SOx, particulate matter, and heat. The pollutants degrade the environment, pose health hazards, and cause various other problems. Coal is also valuable. First one, sorry. This generates pollutants. What are these pollutants? Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, okay, SOx, oxides of sulfur, particulate matters, so particles, and also heat. So these pollutants degrade the environment. So these are very hazardous things left to the environment. Okay, this causes the health problems in all living beings, and also other problems. These pollute other things also, not only living beings. These are going to pollute the atmosphere also. Coal is a valuable petrochemical and used as a source of raw material, okay, for chemical, petrochemical industries, as paints, and and from long term point of view, it is desirable to conserve coal for future needs. So coal not only used as energy, it is used in the petrochemical industries, paint industries, chemical industries. Not only as a energy, it has to be conserved for future needs for these requirements. Safety of nuclear plants. It is still a controversial subject. So nuclear plants, we have very limited nuclear plants in our country. So whenever we talk of nuclear plant, safety comes first. Safety has to be given a lot of importance, because when the reaction inside the reactor goes uncontrollable, then it will lead to hazardous situations. Okay, therefore safety becomes important, and always nuclear plants are a controversial subject. Hydroelectric plants are cleanest, but large hydro reservoirs cause following problems. So even though hydroelectric plants are conventional and as well as renewable source, we have much dependency on the hydro plants, nearly around 30%. Okay, but it has again its own problems. These are listed as follows. Large land area submerges into water. Whenever you construct a dam, large area submerged into the water behind the dam. Okay, this leads to the deforestation. If there is a forest, then it will become deforestation. This causes ecological disturbances such as earthquakes. So storing large amount of water in the behind the dam, it will causes the earthquakes. This causes dislocation of large population and consequently their rehabilitation problems. So whenever you construct a dam, the people or the population, not only the people, the living beings in that forest are to be dislocated from that location to another any other location, and they it causes the rehabilitation problems for that category of living beings. Next is the most promising source, that is mother of all the sources, is called as solar energy. So solar energy is a massive and infinite supply of energy. Solar energy is absorbed by the earth is roughly 1.8 into 10 to the power of 11 megawatts, which is 1000 times more than earth actual commercial energy usage. So sun alone is giving 1000 times more energy what earth is using at present. Okay, but we are not harnessing all this solar energy. As a result, solar technology could potentially fulfill all our world's energy needs. So if you just compare the figures, it is giving 1000 times more energy than what we are consuming. It may become a potential energy source which can fulfill all our energy needs, all our planet's energy needs. It is one of the most promising renewable source. Of course it is a huge source and promising source, but we have some concerns. What is that? The first concern is low energy content or low energy medium. So it is the problem with the solar energy. So solar energy is a very dilute form of energy. So whatever the energy we are getting, 1.8 into 10 to the power of 11 megawatt, it is the energy on the entire planet as a collector area. But when you consider a small area, it is a very dilute form of energy. Even the hottest areas of the planet, the available solar radiation flux scarcely reaches 1 kilowatt per meter square, and cumulative radiation over a day is at most 7 kilowatt hour per meter square. So therefore, to collect large energy, we required broad area. So this broad area means more number of collector, which will eventually increases the cost and becomes expensive. Solar energy is seasonal with a second concern is the second concern. Why? Because sun is not giving constant energy at all the times on all the locations of the earth. So because of the day and night cycles, and also sun earth rotates around the sun in an elliptical orbit, which changes the distance between the sun and earth, and because of this distance again the energy received on the earth also varies. We need storage devices to store the solar energy, because we cannot use in the night time solar energy. Whatever the energy we get in the daytime, that has to be stored in the storage devices to use in the night. So these storage devices again increases the cost of the system. The real problem of using solar energy as a renewable source is that of economy. So the main problem of using solar energy is that it is costlier. Now let us have a look into the classification of methods for solar energy utilization. Solar energy utilization have two types of classification. One is direct method and another one is indirect method. In the direct method, we have thermal, photovoltaic uh, methods, okay, where solar energy is directly utilized. Okay, in the thermal devices, solar energy is converted into heat energy in the thermal devices. Solar energy is converted into electricity directly without any intermediate source in the photovoltaic devices. In the indirect method, solar energy will have indirectly other forms of energy like water. Water energy means tidal or rain cycle. Wind energy, wind blows on the earth's surface because of the solar energy. Biomass, the green plants, animals, all the vegetation matter is because of sun energy. Ocean energy, ocean will have three types of energy, that is marine current, wave energy, ocean temperature difference. So all these methods are indirect methods of solar energy. So broadly we can classify solar energy by methods of classification as direct and indirect method. Direct method doesn't have any intermediate sources. Indirect method means solar energy have a indirect influence on other energy sources like water, wind, biomass and ocean. And ocean indirectly again have different types of sources like marine currents, wave energy, ocean temperature difference. What are the merits of solar energy then? So it is an environmental clean source of energy, very clean source. By using solar energy, we are not going to pollute any of our atmosphere. It is freely available in adequate quantities in almost all parts of the world where people live. Okay, so everywhere solar energy is available, even though it is seasonal. During the daytime, some quantities are available. Demerits of solar energy: it is a dilute source, as I discussed in the previous section. It is a very dilute source, hardly we can get 1 kilowatt per meter square. And from the technological point of view for the utilization, so this dilute source will not give you much benefits. It is required large collecting areas to collect the source. So as I told you, since it is a dilute source, more number of collectors are in a large collecting area is required, which increases the cost of the system. Solar energy availability varies widely with the time. It occurs because of day and night cycles that we have already discussed, and also it is uh, seasonable and it is available in a varying manner because of the rotation of the earth around the sun in an elliptical orbit. Even local weather conditions also influence the availability. So with this, we have discussed solar energy, its disadvantages and salient features. Now what are the possible applications of the solar energy? So we have listed out some of the very important applications. The first one is solar heating, second one is solar cooling, third one is solar pumping, fourth one is solar furnace, fifth one is production of hydrogen, sixth one is solar greenhouses, seventh one is solar distillation, eighth one solar energy, ninth one solar cooking, and 10th one solar drying. Okay, so now you can see that we have lot many applications from the solar energy: heating, cooling, pumping, furnace, hydrogen production, greenhouses, solar distillation, energy, solar cooking, and solar drying. So these applications in detail, step by step, with a neat diagram and description, we are going to study in the coming classes. So with this, I will conclude today's class. Okay, we have discussed what is India's production and reserves, and we have compared our India's energy sources with the world data. We have listed out some of the non-conventional energy sources salient features and conventional energy sources salient features, and we have listed out what is solar energy, or we have defined what is solar energy, its availability, its salient features, advantages, disadvantages, and applications in this class. So with this, I'll conclude today's class, and in the next class we will discuss the thermal energy and other applications. Okay, thank you. I'll conclude today's session now. Thank you very much.